All right, guys, welcome back to the Sophisticated Man podcast. Obviously, you know who I am, Tino Regano, host of the Sophisticated Man. Today, I have another guest with me, Mr. Quinn Capitula. What's up, man?
Tino, how's it going, my friend? Long time no chat, so I'm excited to catch up.
I know. For those of you that don't know, Quinn and I were actually in a coaching program together. I'd say probably about what now, maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah, I want to say it was like January 2020, I think.
Wow. Okay.
So it was a
Yes,
while
it
ago.
was quite a bit ago. It literally feels like it just happened. So yeah, we were in a group coaching program together. Quinn's a great dude. He has his own fitness page. He's really building up his brand right now online. And yeah, just kind of if people want to kind of find out a little bit more about you, what you got going on, kind of describe, just give yourself a little bit of an intro of what it is that you do, why you do it, and what you've been up to.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. So name is Quinn Capitula, as you mentioned. On Instagram, it's at StopTheRain.fit. We'll get into a little bit later what exactly that means because it's something I decided to completely and totally rebrand into and how I got to that and where I am. But I was pretty much someone who, I was like an athlete growing up my entire life. I played basketball, soccer, football, pretty much any sport you could think of, I played at some point. And post that, I went to college, pretty normal story, right? I put on like the freshman 15, the sophomore 20, the first semester of junior year 25. Like I think my heaviest I was about 260 and I wasn't working out at all. So I remember the exact moment I decided to make a change. If we want to get into it, we certainly can. But I bought a workout program that day and haven't looked back since. And it's had just such a tremendous impact on my own level of self-confidence, who I am, and all the goals that I've set, for myself. My life completely transformed once I started to actually take myself seriously and start to actually make the choice to be the person I wanted to be and stop living so much on autopilot.
Mm. That's very well said. And I think we can kind of dive into that aspect of it too, because I talk about confidence literally like almost every other video on this channel. Because it is such a big thing, especially for men,
Right.
like having confidence and going about your life, knowing that what you have is valuable, knowing what you're worth. I mean, really, it's really everything in
Mhm.
business and relationships and finances, whatever you're trying to achieve, it's huge. So I love to dive into that with confidence because I
Sure.
think what you said there is spot on. Once you make that decision to really start to achieve things in your life or start to, at least walk towards the goals that you're setting and start to see some of those results, that builds a level of confidence. So like for you, what was it that started that process of feeling more confident in yourself in fitness and just, going about your goals?
I think it was just the element of actually starting to take control. I think a lot of people live their life as though they're not in control of everything that happens.
Yeah.
I was somebody in college who I would, you wake up, you go to class, you drink on the weekends, you do it, it's pretty much consistent what happens all the time. And although you are in control of it, you're kind of just going through the motions. And to me, it felt like I was living somebody else's life. I didn't feel as though it was for me. Not college was for me. I did enjoy it. I
Mm.
had a great time, met a lot of great people. But in terms of just a life that I was living for myself, and the first time I really started to take control of any aspect of my life and almost take accountability for it was when I
Mm.
started to take accountability for my own body, my own physical health, because it's something I've neglected for so long. And I think a lot of people just live as though they're not in control of certain things because they
Yeah.
can't control everything, so therefore they don't control anything. So it's just
Hmm.
like, hey, you know what? I can't, I feel this way about myself or about something else, and I can't control it. So let's just, do whatever. Right. And
Yeah.
that's kind of how I was for a long, long time. I was just very, very just unhappy. I knew that I was told my whole life that I was like, talented, right? You hear that word all the time, like, oh
Hmm.
man, you're so gifted, you're so talented, right? But that led to me not ever doing anything. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
just kind of just laid back on that. And it's like, oh, you're a good looking dude. Like, oh, you're gonna have great, you're gonna do so great with women. No, but like not if you don't try at all,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it's not if you have no idea what you're doing and you're just like you just rest back on the fact that yeah, like I'm really good. With women apparently I'm good looking. So I mean, it was a lot of different areas of my life where I decided that I was tired of just failing at, for lack of a better purpose. I was tired of not being who I wanted to be or who I could be. And I just decided that I have to actually take control of this. And if it's not going to be how I want it to be, it's not going to be because I didn't try.
Hmm. Yeah, man. I agree 100%. You said some really great things in there in terms of like basically just taking back control of your time and what you do with it. Because I think that's the biggest thing that guys kind of get confused about is like they spend a lot of time doing things that aren't serving the person that they want to be. So if
Yeah.
like example, like we were just saying in college, going to parties, like going to school, going to classes, and like maybe hanging out with friends, whatever. That's fun stuff. And obviously, I think every guy needs to go through that stage of like kind of learning how to be more independent, learning how to like spend your time. But once you get to a point, you're like, all right, if I'm doing the same things every day, and here's where I want to be. Let's say you want to be jacked, you want to make six figures, you want to have like a beautiful girlfriend, a wife, whatever. If you want those
Mm.
things, you're going to have to change the actions that you're doing in order to actually get there. So
Yeah.
I think that's huge. And what you were speaking of was stoicism, what it sounds like focusing on what you can control, not what is outside of that control. Because I think there's so many people in the world that just focus on, well, this is going on over here, this is going on over here. They watch like the news and they say this is a terrible thing. It's like, look, it's a good thing to care about people, but
Mm.
as fucked up as it is to say, like if it's not actually directly affecting you and your life, I
Mm.
mean, what can you do about it? You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I think that's important is to really focus in on what you can do personally.
Right. No, I agree. And I wholeheartedly agree on the news aspect. Like I remember talking to my own family about that. I was like, guys, I could only, go in the room and watch it for maybe 2 minutes. I'm like, every single
Legit.
thing that they said is just so overtly negative and affects nobody.
Yeah.
Like it's like it will not nobody, but doesn't affect us, doesn't
Right.
affect you. And you're just walking around like all day paranoid and afraid about stuff that is never gonna happen to you. It's like
Hmm.
something that happened to somebody, you know, in another part of the world, or and it's not like you shouldn't care about that, right? You should,
Yeah.
but you shouldn't let those kind of things dictate like your own mood and what you
Hmm.
do. Like, if something happened overseas, it's not like, oh man, so I mean, it's cool to figure out like, what can I do to help, but then again,
Hmm.
it's different if you let that dictate your emotional state. I mean, it's basically
Yeah.
something I'll talk about a lot is what happens. I see a lot about this with guys specifically, where the victim mentality in guys
Oh
is
man.
so pervasive. It's
Crazy.
just everybody's like they blame everyone and everything but themselves for everything that's happened
Yep.
in their life, whether it's women, whether it's their how they grew up, whether it's their financial situation, right? Some
Hmm.
people were dealt more difficult hands. There's no question about that. I didn't grow up rich. Did you
Hmm.
grow up rich? I didn't.
Nah.
No, exactly. But we can't control that, right? What we can't control is how we react to it, how we feel about it, and what we do to try to change that situation. And most people would
Hmm.
rather, it's one of the quotes that I learned recently that I really, really like, and I've been talking about a lot, is that most people prefer the certainty of misery to the misery of uncertainty. And it's like we're so comfortable in this, our own box, thinking that nothing is our fault. And the quicker that people are able to take accountability for where they are in this world, the better off they're going to be, because where you are is a direct reflection of the choices you make.
Facts. It's facts, man. And it's crazy that you said that about the victim mentality because I've been making a lot of my recent videos have been talking about that specifically, like guys blaming XYZ for the reason they're in the situation that they're in, or it's because I'm not 6'5" that I don't have a girlfriend. It's because I don't have
Yeah.
six figures, I don't have a girlfriend. It's like, dude, like literally if that's what you're thinking, that's all that's going to show up in your reality because you're thinking, well, it's because of
Yeah.
that. I can't do anything about that. And you're getting that confirmation bias in your life because you're showing up. Maybe, maybe you are going to the gym or maybe you are trying to better yourself, but you're not quite seeing those results. So you're going to link the fact that you're not seeing the results to, oh, it's because I'm not 6'5". Oh, it's because I don't have this. And that's just, it literally is a downward spiral and it just screws you up as long as you let it. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
Um, so I always tell guys to like
100%, man.
have that. Yeah, I tell guys to have that like victory mindset, not a victim mindset, because a victory mindset
Mm.
says you know what, maybe I don't have what I want yet, but it's my responsibility to get there. It's my ability to do what I want, to actually achieve the things that I want. So massive difference, and really understanding that like the world is not out to get you. I think it's what you were saying before. Like guys
Yeah.
think, oh man, like I have it the worst. Let's say, for example, guys did grow up in a less than ideal situation. Like, yeah, you can accept
Mhm.
that that sucks. You can accept that you want better. There's nothing wrong with that, but you don't have to let that keep you exactly where you're at. I mean, everybody's dealt a certain hand of cards. I always think that it
Yep.
doesn't matter what hand you start with, it's about what hand you finish with, because that's how you win the game.
Mhm. Yeah, it's also a lot about what you see, specifically with people who aren't where they want to be, is they almost look at people who do have what they want as though either they didn't deserve it or they just didn't work hard to get it, which couldn't
Yeah.
be further from the truth.
Hmm.
Like everyone who is rich and wealthy now was where you are at some point. At
Yep.
least most of them are.
Yeah.
Like
Most
most of
people.
the, I think there's a stat out there that like of the self-made like billionaires in the world, I want to say 90% of them grew up not wealthy.
I
So
did
it's
see
like
that.
nine
I
out of
just
10
did
of
see that
them
stat.
are, yeah, who are more self-made than
Mhm.
people who just, have family money. And there's nothing wrong with family money. I mean, if you do, then I
Mhm.
mean, it's great. But
Yeah.
it's not everybody's lot in life. And I think the victim mentality gives people the ability, even though it's subconscious, to basically give their own power away from themselves.
Mm.
So they're just like, hey, let me go ahead and just transfer the power I have to control my reality to some other external thing, whether it's other people, whether it's other things, whether it's circumstances, time, money. There's so many things where you could just diffuse the power that you have to actually just take control and be the person you want to be. One of my favorite quotes I've heard recently is a James Clear quote from Atomic Habits saying that
Love
every
that book.
action you take is a vote for the person you want to become.
Yep.
And if you look at your daily, if you look at yourself daily and you're doing like stuff that you were doing in high school, like you're getting up in the morning, you're not doing a damn thing. Like you're drinking your coffee, you're sitting there watching YouTube videos for an hour and a half that aren't productive.
Hmm.
You're not working out at any point. Like you're not getting your steps in. You have no idea what you're putting into your body. You're not, moving. It's like,
Hmm.
I'm sure you've heard this. People complain about this all the time. I hear it in my line of work. It's like, yeah, I'm just not where I want to be. And then you get a little bit deeper into the conversation. It's like, all right, what are you doing? It's like, yeah, so I'm sleeping like 5 hours a night. I'm playing video games for 6 hours a day. Like I eat Taco Bell, 5 times a week, and I drink four
Hmm.
Mountain Dews a day. It's like, yeah, dude, what do you expect then? Like, you
Hmm.
know what I mean? It's like
Yep.
this stuff it doesn't just fall out of the sky. It's like it's almost a stigma. This is a weird probably comparison, but to people who take steroids and PEDs, it's like I had a stigma my whole life for people that took PEDs. I don't,
Hmm.
but I'm not trying to be Liver King here. Like I'm actually
I
natty,
was just
believe
about to
me.
say Liver
But
King. Shout out Liver King.
yeah, exactly. No, if I no, I'm natty, believe me. But if you people view people who take steroids as like lepers, or like that they don't care or something like that. You can take all the steroids you want. If you sit on the couch and play video games, you're gonna look exactly the damn
Yeah.
same. So
Right.
it's like these people still put in crazy amounts of work. Like if you could
Hmm.
fathom the amount of work that a lot of people who look the way they do, I mean, you're in great shape yourself. The amount of work that we put in the gym to look like we do. What I
Hmm.
said a lot of the time is if you knew the amount of stuff we have to do daily or we've done over a period of years, like before you got started, you would probably quit right now
Yeah.
if you knew the amount of stuff that we had to do. Like, and I don't want you to. I want you to figure out what works for you, right? That's what we're all
Hmm.
about here. But it's just like it almost trivializes how much just the work, like all the
Hmm.
effort and all the sacrifice that's made to actually get somewhere, just because it's just, yeah, I'm not there. So they must have had something going for them. Like they must have family money or they're on steroids. So they're just, they
Hmm.
just got it easier. It's like, no, man, they don't. They
Hmm.
don't have it easier at all. They just made decisions and made choices every day to get to where they want to be.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I think it's because people they view that as an easy way out because it's an excuse, it's
Yeah.
convenient. It's like, oh well, I'll just blame it on this thing, and it's easy. You don't have to take much accountability when
Mhm.
you do that because you're like, well, it's not in my control. Doesn't matter. So people are
Mhm.
much more inclined to do the path of least resistance than the path of most resistance because I mean,
Yep.
it's human nature. Like it's not like, if there was $100,000, right in front of me, with zero
Mhm.
resistance, I'm going to take that route as opposed to $100,000 behind like 7 different walls and 10 doors. Like it's just
Right.
natural. But
Mhm.
I think you'll find that if you do follow that path of most resistance, yeah, you might get there a lot long. It might take a lot longer, but I think the payoff is that much sweeter because you
Yeah.
delayed that gratification. You gave yourself that effort because, at the end of the day, I think people look at like the results the wrong way. It's like, all right,
Right.
you get the body, you get the money, you get the business, you get the girl. All those things are fantastic. Like that's a good thing.
Right.
But the truth and like the beauty of it all lies in the actual process, who you really
Yeah.
become in that journey to get those things. Like the transformation is the journey,
Mhm.
honestly. Like at the end of the day, that's the whole thing. And I'm sure you could probably attest to that too with the journey you've had to go through. I'm sure that you've had to change like mindset habits, like
Yeah.
your processes, systems, everything in order to really get
Mhm.
to the point you are now. Like how important is that, do you think?
It's crucial. And I'm actually embarrassed how long it took me to figure out how
Yeah.
important mindset stuff is, man. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you know this, dude. As a guy, at least for me, where I'm from, I can only speak for myself. I'm not going to generalize here.
Hmm.
I was taught that, mindset stuff with guys, I mean, almost inherently, I was taught that you're not even supposed to work on that. You're not supposed to care. You're supposed to grind, go through, and nobody
Yep.
cares about how you feel. So just do it anyway, right?
Hmm.
Suck it up, hold it in. It's bullshit.
Yeah.
It's bullshit, right?
Mhm.
It's almost, again, it's putting that power away from being able to be emotionally intelligent and control your own emotions to an external source of like, hey, you know what? Just keep it inside. Nobody's going to care, what you have to say, or nobody cares how you feel, right? And,
Hmm.
and that almost just allows you to not act and actually improve yourself. And I did that forever. I was somebody who recently, one of the biggest things that's been transformative in my life is I started journaling, whether it's through voice memo
Yep.
or starting to write things out. And
Hmm.
I don't know about you, but I heard people all the time tell me like the last couple of years, like, oh man, you got to journal through that. I'm like, I always thought the journaling was the response of somebody who had no answers. You know what I
Mm.
mean? It's like when you call somebody with a question, like, oh, I don't know, maybe you should just Google it. It's like, come on, dude.
Hmm.
Like, but no, that is the answer. But a lot of people
Yeah.
know the answer, but they don't actually do it. Right? It's like, hey, I want to look like you. How do I look like you? It's like, all right, so you got to train, you got to eat better, you got to, get some sleep, you got to eat more water, you got to write your goals down, blah blah, whatever it may
Hmm.
be. And then you check in with them, they made no progress. It's like, all right, well, yeah, I mean, I've been trying, and then you ask them, it's like, okay, were you doing the things I told you to do? And then they're doing like 3 of the 10. It's like,
Yeah.
and you're wondering why you're not where you're supposed to be, and it's like, it's
Hmm.
it's the coach's fault. It's the program's fault. It's the
Right.
world's fault. It's like, no,
Hmm.
dude, it's you, man. Like
Hmm.
eventually, like I mean, what I one of the one of the phrases my friends and I use all the time is if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's a duck.
Yep.
Right. I mean, if it's everyone else's fault but you, if everything else is not your fault, generally, people are so terrified to just look in the mirror. It's
Mm.
scary. Like even
Yeah.
like, dude, I think I heard this comparison, which I thought was so interesting. People would rather like public speak in front of thousands of people than sit in a room by themselves with no distraction for 15 minutes and just sit there and let their emotions hit them. Because what
I
actually
believe it.
hits you when you don't distract yourself is
Yeah.
it for most people and me for a while and still kind of is, dude. It's
Hmm.
excruciating because the
Yeah.
stuff that you've been running from and hiding all day right here and you
Hmm.
can't escape it. So now
Yeah.
you're thinking about it. Now you have to deal with it. Most people don't know how to deal with emotions because they all day, whether it's through this thing or whether it's through
Yep.
whatever their escape may be, they're running or
Hmm.
hiding all day long from what they actually need to deal with. And that just brings it right here.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny we're talking about this because I was literally just talking about this with my brother last night about how people like lose themselves in it could be social media, phones, food, like talking to women. There's escapism everywhere, video games, and I think
Mhm.
that um the more time that you do spend by yourself, the more time that you do spend alone, you start to really confront some of those things that you're not dealing with. That's why I agree. I kind of hate the narrative that like guys just bury your feelings, suppress them, don't ever feel them. I think guys
Yep.
confuse being emotionally intelligent with being weak and being like passive and like not being like
Hmm.
like not being strong with it. Like you could be strong and also
Yeah.
understand where the emotions come from, why they're there, what they're trying to tell you. That's just
Right.
being smart about it, right? And for me, I'll speak for myself too. I think for a long time, even now, I kind of struggle with it. I was losing myself in watching YouTube videos or video games or being on my phone and all these different things
Yeah.
that distracted me from the feeling that I was getting, which is just honestly just being frustrated. And I was like
Yeah.
talking about this last night. I was like so like it kind of came out of me. I was like, I'm so like just annoyed with the fact that I'm not where I want to be just yet. And is
Yeah.
you know, it's a good thing to be like obviously love the process, do what you want to do and enjoy the ride. But
Mhm.
as a competitive person, I'm sure you know this too, like as a
Oh yeah.
person who's ambitious and competitive, like you want it now and you want these things to pop off.
Right.
Like we've been doing stuff for quite a while. I've been posting things since 2018. I've been making thousands
Mhm.
upon thousands of videos. I've had all these hours in coaching and training. It's like, all right, when is it all going to come together? And
Right. Right.
really, what I was talking about last night was I didn't even realize this, but like the days where I'd be like staying up late, being on YouTube or whatever I was doing, eating snacks, binge eating, it's like I was running away from that feeling of that uncomfortable
Mhm.
feeling of being like, fuck, man, I got to figure this out. And I was suppressing
Yeah.
that with those activities and those distractions.
It it's a form of self-sabotage. And a lot of
100%.
people don't realize that. It's just keeping yourself busy. That's everybody's favorite
Yep.
excuse is that I'm busy.
Busy.
It's like you ain't busy. You're just
Hmm.
distracting yourself from what you actually need to be doing. So
Hmm.
it's interesting because that brings up an analogy that I really like as well. Have you ever heard of the Chinese bamboo analogy?
Yeah, dude, I was just thinking about that the other day too. I love that quote. Yeah.
Yeah. So just for anybody who doesn't know what it is, it means that bamboo in China, when you plant it, you can water
Mhm.
it and do everything right. You can fertilize the soil, whatever it needs to be.
Yep.
After the first year, you do everything right. Nothing happens. Second
Hmm.
year, nothing happens. Up to the fifth year,
Fifth year,
nothing
yeah.
happens. And then it can grow up to what is it, like 2
500 feet,
feet
something crazy.
yeah, in like a year. Like it just gets
Yeah.
huge and you can literally see it growing. And that's what I mean. That's self-improvement.
Hmm.
That's being an entrepreneur.
Yep.
That could be your love life. That could be your confidence in yourself. You could be
Yep.
doing everything right and seeing no results from it. And I
Hmm.
think we've been programmed as human beings to think that
Yep.
because we can't tangibly see results right now, that we're not getting results.
Hmm.
Like, because we're always, at least me personally, I don't know about you, but I'm the last one to see results in myself.
Oh yeah.
Like, I just,
Most
yeah, I'm
definitely.
the last one. Like, I'll look in the mirror and I'm like, oh man, like, ugh, I look pretty good, but like, I don't look that good. And then I'll look at a picture of myself from like 3 months ago. I'm like, damn, okay, no, I've
Yeah.
actually made a lot of progress.
Yeah.
Like, it's weird because everybody else will say, like, damn, you look really good
Hmm.
right now. I'm like, dude, and you're just beating yourself up all the time, dude. I mean,
Hmm.
that's one of the common misconceptions in the fitness industry is like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, working out fixes body dysmorphia. No, it doesn't.
I don't think it does.
It just morphs, man.
Yeah.
It just changes shape. So now once you start working out and lose weight, because I was 260, I am 6'4", so I was a tall guy, and so I
Hmm.
carried it relatively well, I guess.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
like I mean, I wasn't working out, so I mean, over the last 5 years, I've lost 60 pounds. I put on a
Wow.
very good amount of muscle. My body looks completely different. I look
Hmm.
completely different, mentally, physically, emotionally. Pretty much everything has changed,
Hmm.
and yeah, it just it takes so long for you to reach that state, and for so long it'd just be I don't see it, so I'm not progressing. It's like you said, you're just frustrated. You're like, why
Yep.
am I not here? It's like I mean, it's not always meant to happen for everybody right away. Like
Hmm.
it happens for pretty much any successful person you hear. You don't hear somebody like, oh yeah, like Bill Gates. So it wasn't like, oh yeah, he just created Microsoft in 5 minutes. Now he's a
Yeah.
billionaire. No, it's not. I mean, he
Hmm.
failed a million times. Elon
Hmm.
Musk, like all these successful people,
Yep.
like they had so many things crash and burn before they
Hmm.
actually like. I forget whose quote this is, but success is 99% failure, and you need one good idea to succeed. One.
Hmm. Hmm.
So it's not like success is right here, but there's so much trial and error that comes along with that. And just because you think you have a good idea, doesn't necessarily mean you're going to succeed.
Hmm. Yeah, man, it's so critical because I think like everyone gets into self-improvement thinking that, oh yeah, if I just work on myself for a year, like I'm gonna change my whole life, which you could. I mean, there's no saying that you can't do that, but
Right.
the possibility of actually like getting everything you want, not even in a year. Let's say most people think they can change completely in like 6 months, 8 months, and
Yeah.
like completely like shift everything. It's like you'll probably make a lot of
Hmm.
progress, but it could take years. It could take just
Dude.
continual effort forever. And that's like something that I don't think enough people realize about self-improvement. Everybody sees the Lambos, they see the mansions, they see the fancy clothes, the money, the women, they see all this and they're like, "Oh yeah, I want to be an
Hmm.
entrepreneur. I want to be a self-improvement YouTuber, whatever." And then they go do it and they're
Yep.
like, "Well, shit, that's nothing like I saw it was. It's not marketed. It's not at all like
Mhm.
I saw it on YouTube." And the thing about it is like self-improvement isn't those things. Like that's a result from
No,
the
it's
work that
not.
you put in, but literally improving yourself is just like you were saying, putting in X amount of effort for X amount of time, and you're not going to see any
Yeah.
progress. Like I think guys need to literally get used to doing the dumb, well, not dumb, I can't say dumb, but boring,
Yeah.
monotonous grind every single day and just getting better at that and just focusing on that because that's what creates change is that
Yeah.
consistency. People look for
Yeah. It's not
the moon.
sexy.
It's not sexy.
It's not sexy. Like, I mean, that's what I think it's glorified about this industry, like you mentioned. I mean,
Yeah.
when I got started, man, I'll tell you the exact moment, dude. I've talked about this a little bit, but I haven't talked about all that much. Is I was in college, I was a senior. I studied abroad my junior year, lost about 25 pounds abroad because the food isn't practically trying to kill you. And because I also met people who were into fitness. We started doing circuit
Mhm.
training, and I've always liked working out. I just had I just didn't, it wasn't something I prioritized for a while just because I was too busy, getting in my own way and not taking any accountability, classic stuff. So
Mhm.
I came back, started putting the weight all the way back on, dude. And I remember I was watching a YouTube video basically on why I didn't get any girls, which was true at the time. And I was eating like, dude, it was like chicken tenders and mac and cheese and drinking like a
Yep.
Mountain Dew, studying for a test. Like it was just, and I remember the video stopped and I had to look at my reflection in my laptop and I was like, is this really what I'm going to be? Like,
Mm.
is this really like, am I going to graduate and have to look at myself being this fat my whole
Yep.
life on my graduation photo?
Mhm.
Like, I'm not okay with this. It's fine. It
Yep.
was that moment that happens to a lot of people where they're like, okay, I finally had enough. Like I've allowed this to compile and just time to make a change. So I bought a workout program that day, closed my laptop, went to the gym right there. It was like,
Yep.
I'm not doing this anymore. And I worked out like, you know, like a crazy man. And I think another
Mhm.
thing about the fitness industry in general is that I think they believe just because we look a certain way that we haven't made any mistakes. Dude, we've
Yeah.
made every mistake in the book. Every single mistake. Like any coach that tells you for some reason or makes you think that they're like better than above, like they're not. They've made
Mhm.
every mistake you've made, whether it's ego lifting, overtraining, terrible form, not eating right, not getting enough steps, not getting, they've done all of it. That's the only reason we know how to tell you what actually works and what doesn't is because we wish we would have had somebody like ourselves to actually say, here's the path.
Yep.
Because we're spraying the board a lot of the time when you get started. You're doing, that you're moving in the right direction, but it's not like, you're doing this as
Mhm.
opposed to doing this. Like you're
Mhm.
not like, where the path is, but you're kind of like blind walking through it. And yeah, dude, it's this whole self-improvement journey, man. It's so glorified. Like I
Yeah.
remember it, and I'll just go into this briefly. When I was doing this, I was looking at guys that I looked up to at the time, like guys, big
Yeah.
influencers in the space 3 4 years ago. I'm like, I can. It was kind of like a quote that I think it's a Brandon Harding quote where he says, somebody's got to do it, so why not me? It's like, why
Mhm.
can't I do that?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I have all the tools. I can do this. And
Mhm.
I was like, you know what? I want to go, I want to be, I want to start, getting more successful with women. Have done that.
Mhm.
I want to become a sponsored athlete. Did that. Want
Mhm.
to, create a fitness Instagram, start posting on there. Done that now for like a year. So it's
Mhm.
it's just like usually, unfortunately, and I'm sure we could talk about this at some point as well, it became
Mhm.
more of something where I was just so bitter
Yeah.
about my lack of success, mainly with women,
Mhm.
where I was just like, man, like this is ridiculous. I'm getting rejected left, right. Like, this sucks, man. Like, and
Mhm.
that's a tough existence to be in.
Yeah.
But you don't realize that it actually takes you actually taking some damn accountability and realizing that it's you
Mhm.
and not them to be like, oh shit, okay, I need to do something about this. Cause I mean, not to use another cliche saying, but it's the definition of insanity.
Yeah.
to expect the different result for the same thing. Like if you wake up every morning and have a bunch of hash browns and a bunch of crappy food for breakfast, and then eat a burger and fries every night, drink
Mhm.
14 sodas a day, like yeah, is not Megan Fox is not going to knock on your door, dude. It's not going to happen. That doesn't happen. Like,
Never.
I mean, this Pete Davidson stuff, I mean, I think he's given people so much opportunity and so much faith in like the quote
Mhm.
unquote like ugly guys or whatever, even though he's not
Yeah.
ugly. It's like
Mhm.
that's not how this works, dude. He's really talented, really rich, and who's worked really hard to get where he is. Like you're
Mhm.
not him. Like
Yeah.
nobody is him.
Mhm. Well, to that point, I think like there's a lot of narratives going around in men's spaces where they talk about like women being delusional when it comes to dating. They have like all these expectations, all these standards, which hey,
Yeah.
I'm not going to disagree with. I think there's a lot of girls that are like little psycho when it comes to what they want and it's not congruent with actually the things that they attracted to. But at the same
Mm-hmm.
time, I think guys are still could be just as delusional. Like the guys
I
you
would
just
agree.
described, you know what I mean? Like dudes sitting playing video games, playing Fortnite all night, ordering DoorDash and just like not doing anything. It's like, oh, I'm a high value man. I deserve a good woman. Do you, bro?
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you actually?
Nah, you don't. Like, I also dislike the word high value man so much because it's
It's
subjective.
it's a marketing
Like,
term.
yeah, it is. It is exactly. So you could like brand it, put it on clothing. Like, it's like, so you could sell a course, like how to be a high
Yeah.
value man. It's like,
Yeah.
who defines what that is? Is it
Right.
is it you? Like, I mean, because a
Hmm.
high value man to you, who cares what a guy thinks a high value man is? Like, who
Yeah.
cares what anybody else thinks what it is, what you think it is,
Hmm.
man? Like, and we're not trying to shit on people who play video games either, dude. If you like, there's people who make a shitload of money playing video games. Like, do what you want
Absolutely.
to do, man. But you
Yeah.
also, if that's all you do,
Right.
and like but then it's like one of the analogies I like from a George Carlin special that he said is like, you wouldn't walk into Harvard Law and just say, "Oh, I have a pencil, so I can probably sit in on the torts class," right? No, it's like that's not how this stuff works, man. Like there are qualifications, there's levels to this, and it's not like you can't ever get there, but you can
Yeah.
also expect you to be at a certain level or you to be achieving things at a certain level if you're not at that level. So
Yes.
if you're not putting in the work or trying at all, you can't expect other people to just doesn't just happen for you
Hmm.
ever.
Hmm.
So it doesn't matter where it is. It doesn't just happen, man. It's a reflection of the work you put in and the choices you make, regardless of what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think because I think like guys, it's starting to become more popular now because of just the fact that like
Yeah.
masculinity is being talked about, which is a great thing. I think it's starting to become a little bit
Mm-hmm.
more popular. Guys are starting to realize like, yo, I have to build up my value. Like being a high value man, like quote unquote, or whatever you want to describe it as. At the end of the day, it's just simply just you building something, like you orienting your life around goals, what you feel
Mm-hmm.
authentically called to do, you making
Right.
yourself better, making yourself more
Yeah. Yeah.
capable. And like
It's the
once you
ideal
get
self.
there, you're good. You're good. Like you don't have to be like the next Liver King, for example. You don't have to be the next Jordan Peterson. Like you could
Mm-hmm.
just be the best the
Nope.
best version of yourself. And
Yeah.
yeah, guys miss that.
No, dude, so many people are trying to be somebody else. It's like, no,
Yeah,
you're not them. The being a high value man is being the best version of yourself. That's really what
yeah,
it is. Being
that's
your
it.
highest self,
Hmm.
whatever that means. And that's not it for you. If that's, I want to run marathons, and that's the highest version of yourself, but right now you can only run a 5K. All
Yeah.
right, then work every day to get to that point. If that's
Hmm.
your goal, that's the thing. Like, I don't understand people who have all this ambition but don't work for it. You know what I
Mm.
mean? It's
Yeah.
people who they want to be somewhere or they talk big game about wanting to do all these things, but they do none of the work.
Hmm.
It's like people I talk about that all the time, dude. I was talking to a client or a prospective client a couple days back, and I was like, "Yeah, so what are your goals? In the fitness space?" Like, "Oh yeah, I mean, like Chris Bumstead's kind of my hero. Like, I want to look like him." I was like, "You okay? You want to look like Mr. Olympia?" It's like,
Lofty
it's
goal.
like, yeah, it's like, I mean, if you, I'm not gonna say you can't do it,
Yeah.
but like, if you dude, that, like, just the level, it's not like it's not even that it's not realistic. It's just like like I'm glad that you have high goals. I'm a proponent of setting like scary goals and trying to attain them, and just trying to actually challenge yourself. But it's like, if that's your goal to start, if it's like, there's so
Mm,
much you need to understand that goes into becoming a tenth of the
yeah.
builder or lifter that Chris Bumstead is. Like the
Yes.
amount of stuff like that. Yeah, it's just that kind of stuff, man, is just like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure you get it all the time. It's like, yeah, I want to be like a CEO of my own company. It's like, dude, like, you don't,
Mm-hmm.
okay, like,
Mm-hmm.
great. I want to be a millionaire. Okay, awesome. Like, do
Yeah.
you have any sort of plan? Do you know what you want to do? Like, are you
Mm-hmm.
taking any steps? Like, no, I'm talking to you. It's like, I mean, I guess that's a step, but like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like,
Yeah.
there's no plan. It's just like, I just want things and I deserve things because I'm a human. So just
Mm-hmm.
send it to me because I just, inherently just deserve stuff. It's like, no,
Yeah.
man, that's not how that works.
Dude, I know, man. The entitlement is actually crazy. And I think the
Oh
younger
my
we
God.
get, man, like the younger generations, like I'm not gonna say everybody is like some crazy blanket statement,
Mhm.
but I feel like the younger that each
Right.
generation gets, the more entitled they become. And they think, oh well, yeah, I'm gonna
Yeah.
be this, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna get all these things. And it's like, well, what are you doing to prove that you even deserve that kind of stuff? Like it's awesome that you want. Sweet. That's great. Like I want
Mhm.
a lot of things too, but you have to be willing to put in the work to get there.
Yep.
And it's funny because I was watching a podcast the other day, and this guy was on this one dude's stream. I think it was Sneeko. I was just like randomly watching some
Mhm.
stream, and this guy came on his podcast, and he was younger. He was like maybe 20, 21, like a little bit younger guy. And Sneeko was asking him like what his goals were. He's like, "What do you want to do with your life?" And he's like, "Oh, I want to be Andrew Tate, man." He's like, "I want to be Tate." And I'm just like thinking to myself, okay, do you know like what like how you have to like orient your life to be Andrew Tate? Like no one's gonna be Andrew Tate besides Tate. Like you know what I'm saying? Like no one is literally
Yep.
gonna be him. And like it's one thing to look up to people like that. Say, oh, he has a lot of money,
Mhm.
he has a lot of status, he has a lot of XYZ. Dope. You can get that, but in your own way. I think people like
Right.
look at guys like him, and I have a lot of respect for guys like Tate. Like I'm not trashing them. I'm just saying like people look at guys like him or guys like who else is big in the industry? Like um, Fresh and Fit or some of these other guys that talk about this
Oh, dude.
stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or just, there's
Mhm.
a whole bunch of them. Like guys like Bradley
Mhm.
Martin in your case, like in the fitness industry. Like there's tons of
Yeah.
dudes. And people look, oh, I want to be him. I want to be the next him. And it's like, bro, there's a difference between being inspired by somebody and being like, all right, I want to do that, but in my own way. And then just straight up like imitating them and copying them and thinking if I just do everything
Mhm.
they do, then I'll get in the same place, which is somewhat true, but
Mhm.
there's nuance to that. Because the
Yeah.
caveat is you don't want to
Yes.
imitate, you want to innovate once you figure out, all right, I'm going to do it this way, but in my way now. Because too many people think
Yeah.
I'm going to be the next whoever, like I'm going to be the next freaking,
Mhm.
you know,
Christian Guzman, the next
Christian Guzman or
Charlie
whoever,
Coker. Yeah, exactly. It's like, I
anybody.
want to be the next, like, yeah. It's like, it's interesting because I'm sure you understand as well is that the habits of all of these people, the
Yeah.
standards they set, what they do on a daily basis, dude,
Yes.
it's the same. The media
Hmm.
may be different, but like what they do for themselves and the stuff that every single person you just mentioned is in shape.
Yep.
Every single one of them. They all eat well. They
Mm.
take care of themselves. I mean, for the most part, they sleep well. They have meaningful relationships. They show up for themselves every day, and
Hmm.
they don't allow external things to completely and totally dictate what they want to do. Like, I mean, just all the like
Hmm.
the struggles and stuff that comes along with. I mean, I'll speak on Christian Guzman for a second because he's one of the biggest people who got me into this whole thing. Like, I certainly idolize him
Hmm.
and what he's been able to do. Like, I mean, what he
Hmm.
was able to build is phenomenal. But like, that
Yeah.
dude was sleeping like 2 hours a night. Like, he works I mean, he's working his ass off to build Alpha Land and to
Hmm.
keep the clothing brand going. And he has an energy drink company, so many things he has going on. But his
Yeah.
level of like transparency and his openness with people about, I think a lot of people in improvement and in fitness also, I think they're interconnected, I would say. Because I think
Yeah, for sure.
you can have one without the other, but like, Not really.
Usually
Not, I mean,
no.
at the
Yeah.
highest level, maybe, but they usually are
Yeah.
intertwined somewhat. Like usually, if you care about one, you start to care about the other. Whether it's
Right.
you're into fitness, you start to care about the other one or the other
Hmm.
way. But like the level of transparency he had with his audience and him actually telling you, look, this shit is hard. Like this
Hmm.
shit is not easy, man. This is it's sacrifices all the time. And there's also a
Hmm.
negative connotation around sacrifices.
Yep.
If you sacrifice eating junk food, is that a sacrifice or is that a good thing? Because that's
Hmm.
actually a good thing.
Right.
If you sacrifice, watching meaningless stuff on the TV all day, if you sacrifice scrolling TikTok for 3 hours, that's good. It's
Hmm.
not bad. It's just like
Yep.
there's a lot of words that inherently have no meaning,
Hmm.
right? We attach meaning to words.
Exactly.
And we attach, due to how we feel about them, negative or positive emotions towards words, right? So the word sacrifice, another one, I'm sure you know that the word diet.
Yep.
And whenever you hear the word diet, everyone's like, oh, suffering, sacrifice. No, it's not always like that. Is it easy? No. Sometimes you're going to be a little hungry. So you have to be in a caloric deficit somehow. But
Hmm.
it doesn't have to be, time for my third kale smoothie of the day, right? It's not, that's not like, it's not reality. But I think that so many people quit before they start because they've been sold a dream or a lie about
Yes.
how this stuff is. Like
Hmm.
same thing with dating, same thing with
Oh
lifting. Like
yeah.
they're just like, yeah, just like, yeah, you got to go 6 days a week, got to do all this stuff. It's like, no, you don't.
No, you don't.
Like you really don't. If you go to the
No.
gym, and I did it when I started, I was going like 7 days a week, and I
Oh
hurt
yeah.
myself all the time. Like
Hmm.
I was walking around injured and sore all the time, but I was just so sick of where I was that I didn't care,
Hmm.
and that's not good.
Hmm.
But that was my origin story, and then you realize like a year later, like, okay, maybe I should like 4 or 5 days, maybe, like
Hmm.
let's.
Yeah.
Why am I walking around so tired and injured all the time? And
Hmm.
it's just stuff like that drives me insane, man.
Hmm. Yeah, man. It's like people paint the picture of it being this crazy, like fairy tale unicorn story of like just this is when it's gonna be, and you're gonna get all this money and all this fame, all this
Yep.
success, and like it's gonna be just like this other person. But people forget like we're
Hmm.
all on our own path, like we're all on our own journey.
Right.
And I have to remind
Hmm.
myself of that sometimes. Like I'm not gonna be the next, like I'm not gonna be the next Andrew Tate, or I'm not gonna be the next
Right.
How to Beast or whoever the hell it is, like whoever's in my industry, Alpha M, like I'm not going to
Hmm.
be those guys. I'm going to be
Right.
myself. And then once I think you get to a certain point, you start to just develop things that are unique to you, your own processes, your own mindsets, your own, way about doing things and thinking. So once you get there, I think you're solid. And to kind of bring it back to what we talked about not too long ago, we were talking about like the self-sabotage and kind of getting in your own way. I think a lot of it too is just influence from like society at large and like the media because and I'm sure you've heard a ton of this with like the whole like body positivity thing. Like just accept
Hmm.
yourself, like okay, you're okay where you're at. You don't have to improve, like just be okay with it.
Hmm.
And like that's
Hmm.
it's such a fine balance of like yes, like obviously be happy with where you're at, but
Hmm.
if you truly want to achieve like more in your life, whether it's more money,
Right.
more financial or fitness success or success with women or just your goals in
Yeah.
life, you're gonna have to do more. You're gonna have to like put yourself through adversity. I just think this like
Hmm.
mindset around, oh, just be accepting, like don't you don't have to try. Like men are told like just to be like soft and they could be passive. They don't have to be aggressive. It's like that's
Right.
nonsense. Like you have to be competitive and you
Yeah.
have to be ambitious if you want to achieve something.
Yeah, I mean, well, think the way I like to think about these things now is to look at them at the what exactly underneath that is being said.
Yeah.
What in essence that movement is telling you
Mm-hmm.
or brainwashing you to believe, it's really to not do anything
Yeah, exactly.
when you think about it. And
Mm-hmm.
who benefits from that?
Yep.
Certainly ain't you.
No.
So I don't want to sound like I have my tinfoil hat on right now, but that's people who want to keep you down and subservient. That's
For
people who
sure.
want to keep you exactly where you are because it benefits them. That's why,
Mm-hmm.
like, if you once you start to understand more and more that, like, the system is rigged. It's rigged against you. The food you
Yep.
eat is poisoning you on a daily basis. All the
Literally.
content that you have access to every single day is not good. Like,
Hmm.
and you should love yourself. There's no question about that. But
Yeah.
loving yourself without understanding you can improve is sociopathic
Hmm.
and narcissistic.
Yep.
Like, they're like, looking at the two of us right now, I can think of 5 different ways right now I can improve myself at least. And that's,
Yeah.
and from a drunken stupor, I could wake up and give you three. Right. I
Hmm.
mean, to think that you're somehow perfect and there's no way that you could better yourself is
Yeah,
like, just think of the ego behind that statement.
for
It's
sure.
like, you are this, you are a finished product, ain't nothing wrong with you.
Hmm.
It's wild to think about, because I mean, it's the same thing about working out, right? It's like, oh man, but
Hmm.
it's gonna be so hard. It's such a time commitment. Who benefits from that? Who told you that?
Yeah.
Right? It certainly wasn't you, because if you haven't done it, you wouldn't know. So it's like,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? Why would someone letting you know that? Why would that actually be the case? Who benefits from that? Because it's
Hmm.
never you. It's always somebody else. It's
Yeah.
always the fast food industry. It's always, I'm unhappy, so I'm not going to actually be ambitious. I'm not going to try. So I'm going to stay at this job forever and just be a subservient worker and never question anything I'm told ever. Right. It's
Hmm.
just that vicious cycle. Then you're 50, you look back at your life like, God, what the hell happened? I'm in terrible shape. I never did anything I wanted to do. And eventually, unfortunately, you realize it's your own fault. But for, unfortunately, way too many people, it's way too late to do anything about it, or at least to take advantage of it to the extent you wanted to.
Hmm. Yeah, they get stuck in the patterns, and they get stuck in the basically stuck in the matrix. Like, not to be
Yeah,
too wild with the
I
terminology
get you.
there, but that's what it is. They're stuck in kind of the system of just complacency and like being
Yes.
average. And like honestly, I've said this before, but like if you want to be average, listen to average people's opinions, listen to the mainstream, listen to what everybody else is
Yeah.
doing because that's where
Mhm.
you're heading if that's all you listen to. But it kind of ties back to what we talked about before too. Um, talking about your influences, the people that you listen to. If you listen to nothing but millionaires, people that are successful, people that are jacked,
Mhm.
people that have the goals that you want. If you listen to those people, then you have a higher chance of actually getting close to those type of results. So it's all about
Yep.
just where you're getting this information. Like that's why I have a better time trusting people that are coaches or people that are like in this industry because I'm like, well, yes, they're taking money from me, so they have some type of financial gain, but they're not trying to make my life any worse. Like, what reason do they have to make my life any worse? Like, they don't
Right.
care if I get my goals or not. I mean, it's up to me, but they're just going to show me
Right.
the ways. So
Yep.
it's huge. I think a lot of it is just where you get your information from and what you're listening to and who you're listening to because that really can shape the way you believe, your beliefs and your values.
Yeah. I mean, you look at, pretty much any podcast or any person who talks about self-improvement, a
Mhm.
lot of the stuff they say is a lot of it's consistent. Like, you
Oh
probably
yeah.
bring it down to a lot of certain bullet points. Some of them just being, one of the main ones is who you hang out with is
Yep.
huge. Like,
Hmm.
I mean, if you hang out with quote unquote losers, like, you show me your group of friends, I'll show you your future.
Hmm.
And that's interesting, because I do agree with that. Where it's
Oh
like,
yeah.
if you hang out with people that aren't going anywhere, have no ambition, have don't necessarily understand it, they don't have to understand what you're doing, but maybe don't accept what you're doing, or kind of are constantly kind of taking those little digs at your self-esteem, like, oh, you want to be a coach, that's so interesting, like, why would anybody
Hmm.
pay for coaching? It's like, just
Yep.
because you wouldn't and can't fathom it doesn't mean there aren't people out there who would, because there's
Facts.
plenty of people who would. Like,
Hmm.
I mean, think about this. 13% of people in the United States have a gym membership. 13.
Is that really what it is?
And yes, and
Oh
that's
my
for,
God.
and that's not including people who have it and don't go. Right. I mean, you go to the gym, you work out all the time, dude.
Yeah.
Guess who you see when you go to the gym? The same
Same
damn
people.
people.
Same
The
people.
same, dude. I could draw you a picture of what my gym looks like when I go.
Yeah.
I could
Legit.
paint a mural of the people that are there.
God,
So like,
that's crazy.
it's yeah, it's like, there aren't, like, you see the same people, and that's why, like, this part of this time around, like, of the year is for
Hmm.
people who are, like, I guess, a hardo. It's our least favorite time, because it's people
Hmm.
who go in, take up all the machines, which is fine. I hope they stay. Like, I want you to be there, but then you go for like 3 days and then never
Yep.
come back. It's
Mhm.
like, man, like it does that. I mean, that's one of the reasons I want to try to coach and I want to help these people. It's because it's like,
Yep.
if you, first of all, if you're waiting for a certain amount of time to reach your goals, you've already set yourself up for failure.
Already lost. Yeah.
If it's like, yeah, exactly. I'm waiting for January. No, I'm gonna wait till I'm less busy. I'm gonna wait till I have more money in my bank account. One of the ones I heard yesterday was too funny. Yeah, I'll start saving money when I'm rich already. It's like, what? It's
Wow.
like the logic makes no sense. It's
None.
like, yeah, exactly. It's like, oh my gosh. A lot of people don't necessarily even realize that their brain is their job. Your brain's job is to keep you safe, and it will
Yes.
distort reality at every single opportunity to
Hmm.
actually get you to stay in your comfort zone.
Yep.
Your like failure is a manifestation of your comfort zone.
That's true.
That it really is what it is. And like it's so interesting because people if talking people out of as coaches who are entrepreneurs as well, who try to make people's lives easier, improve their lives in certain ways. Whether I know it's more self, improvement. It's more of a lot of different aspects. For mine is more nutrition, fitness, mindset. I mean, I know yours is similar things as well.
Hmm.
We would be 10th degree black belts. I don't even know if there is a 10th degree black belt, but we'd be 10th degree black belts on talking ourselves out of opportunities to improve
Yeah.
and become uncomfortable. It's our brain's favorite thing to do, because as soon
Hmm.
as it's becoming uncomfortable physically, mentally, emotionally, financially, spiritually, whatever it is, your brain's like, hell no. I don't have
Hmm.
time. I don't have money. I don't have. It's
Yep.
like, I mean, dude, it's as simple as like I posted about this the other day. The average person spends like what 4 hours and 15 minutes on their phone and watches TV for 3 hours a day. You can do the
Hmm.
math on that. That's a third of your day.
That's crazy.
And you're working and sleeping for the other third. So
Hmm.
you're telling me you don't have time?
Yep.
Like you have time. Like
Hmm.
you have time. Like it's like, if you wouldn't say I don't have time to feed my kids,
Yep.
right? You wouldn't say I don't have time to eat today.
Hmm.
Yes, you do, because
Yep.
you make it a priority.
Exactly.
Right. It's like it's all about making these things a priority. And a lot of this stuff isn't necessarily even that uncomfortable. If that's just your brain tricking you and distorting
Hmm.
your reality. You're
Yep.
like, oh God, no, it's so uncomfortable to go to the gym. Like there's gonna be so many people there and I don't know what I'm doing and blah blah. It's like, okay. And like eventually every person who's worked out has been where you are.
Better start somewhere.
Every single person in the gym has been where you are. Whether you're
Hmm.
overweight, whether you're skinny, whether you're in great shape, we're all in the same boat. Like
Hmm.
the fallacy that everybody is just like, oh yeah, this guy was just born yoked. You think Chris Bumstead came out like already hitting the front double bicep when he was born? No, that
Hmm.
dude worked his ass off every day, and he was probably a scrawny motherfucker who just went to the
Hmm.
gym and was like, hey, all right, well, I'm just doing this now. This is what I do. He makes it a priority. So
Hmm. Dude, that's actually crazy that that statistic. I didn't even know that was statistic was real. Like 13% of people that have gym memberships.
13%.
That is
Yeah.
absurd. I didn't even know
Oh,
that.
I'll
I'm
throw
gonna
some stats
check
at you,
that out.
dude.
Yeah, that's
So
interesting.
here's another one. Ready?
Go
I'll let
for
you
it.
another one. So people who I posted about this yesterday. Do you know the amount of people who lose more than 15 pounds at any point of time and are able to keep it off for longer than a year?
Mm,
3%.
3%.
3%.
Crap. I kind
Yeah.
of I believe
Because
that, man.
they've been, yeah. Because you know why? Because there's a dopamine hit to making big changes. People notice big changes.
Yeah.
Like if you were to start a business right now and you were to hit a 10K month,
Hmm.
everyone's like, holy shit, man, like you're
Yeah.
balling out, you're doing so good, right? But if you then consistently hit 10K months for the next year, right, you'd think that for some reason you're not improving. Maintenance is not sexy. So if I was to
Yeah.
tell somebody,
That's true.
hey, I stayed the same amount of weight for 3 years, but I put on a ton of muscle and I look completely different, they'd be like, oh, so you did nothing? It's like, no, I did the hard stuff.
Yeah.
Like maintenance is way harder than losing weight. Like, I mean,
Uh-huh.
I don't want to say losing weight isn't hard, but the
Hmm.
way I like to describe it, especially to prospective clients, is look, if I held your whole family hostage right now, or if someone did, let's not say I did, you know what I mean? But if someone was to hold your whole family hostage right now and said, look, you have 2 months to lose 20 pounds or they're dead. You don't need to look up one video you could do it,
Nope.
right? You don't need us or me to tell you how to do a bench press or a squat. You know how to
Hmm.
do a squat. You
Hmm.
need somebody to hold you accountable. You need somebody to call you on your BS, and you need somebody to help you figure out something that's going to actually work for you, not
Mm.
like something that's going to work for me, or like, you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
the way that a lot of people view this and a lot of coaches in the space is like, all right, so here's how you do this lift. and here's how many times you go, here's your split, here's your diet. It's like, dude, they're a teacher at a
Yeah.
school. They're not an entrepreneur. They don't have the same life as us.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, they don't have all day, and not that we do, but it's like also like they have a set schedule where they have their, drained throughout the day from teaching kids. They're doing all these things. Like, dude, they're not trying to step on stage at the Olympia. They're not trying to start a fitness Instagram, dude. They're just trying to feel better. They're trying to look better, be more confident, look better in the bikini, be willing to go onto the beach in the summer on their family vacation and take their shirt off without feeling fucking ashamed.
Mm-hmm.
But you're like, oh man, no, you got to go 5 times a week, dude. You got to hit all this crazy stuff and be hitting PRs and all this garbage. It's like, no, they don't.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you know what I mean? I mean, it's similar with dating, dude. I mean, I'm sure I don't know if you went through this, but after that, first kind of class we joined in 2020, dude,
Mm-hmm.
I was hoeing out. I'm being honest, man. Like, I was like, because I never done it before. It was a complete and total ego power trip for me.
Yep.
I don't know if you ever had something like that.
I've had my fair share of that back like after I graduated
Yeah.
college, and yeah, once you get good with women, you're just like, I want to keep this up.
Right. It's like it's absolutely just your ego being like, oh
Yeah,
yeah,
for
like
sure.
like it was my friend said it so funny. He goes, so it was only a matter of time before you started to use your powers for evil.
It's
And I
usually how
was
it
like,
goes.
that's really what it was. It was
Yep.
just like I was just, being a hoe for lack of a better term. I was
Yeah.
really was. And I mean it takes a little bit of time because
Mm-hmm.
when it's in it is kind of, can't pretend it's not kind of fun. For like a short amount of time,
Mm-hmm.
it is kind of fun, right?
Sure.
But
Yeah,
after a while, dude, it's so hollow.
it is.
It's just like, oh my god, everything is the next one, right? It's never like
Uh-huh.
appreciating what you could have had. Like, oh my god, dude, I
Mm-hmm.
remember a story where the first girl I ever really got serious with, dude, it was too funny. I was hanging out with her that day, and I remember her asking me probably 2, 3 months after the fact. She's like, "So, were you still talking to other girls like when we started, dude?" And the problem with me sometimes, especially back then, is I'm honest sometimes to a fault, and I'm not trying to be a dick, but it's like,
Yeah.
don't ask a question that you don't want the answer to a
Right.
lot of the time, because it's like I'm not great at, like, I need to get better at that, and I'm proactively working on it. But back then, I was like, I will tell you, I don't give a shit. So I was like, do you really want to know the answer to that? Like I had like 4 or 5 dates that week. Like I'd been with like multiple other girls that week.
Yep.
Like, it was the craziest time in my life where I happened to meet someone I did like for a period of time, and we ended
Mm-hmm.
up being together for like 6 months or something. But it was so, and her friends were like, I can't believe you told her that. It's like, well, first of all, they didn't know. It was funny. Her friend goes, I didn't know you were like that. I was like, I wasn't until about 3 weeks before that. Like, because I don't seem like it. It was just, like I said,
Yeah.
I was just using those powers for evil.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think what's interesting about that is, um, for most guys, I'd say like maybe 80 some percent of guys, they don't even know that kind of reality where they have that abundance with
No.
women where they can like have the options to be like, oh yeah, you know what? This girl doesn't like me. Sarah's still on for Saturday. I'm cool. That's whatever. Like most guys don't even know what
Mm-hmm.
that's like. And I think
No.
it's stages, right? Like every guy has to go through a stage where you kind of have to get into that point of like building up your experience, knowing how to set dates, knowing how to lead, knowing how to communicate, so you can eventually, when you do want
Yep.
to like have a wife or a girlfriend or a long-term option, you know how to vet, you know how to
Mm-hmm.
date her. And I think what happens is
Right.
guys guys don't have that. So once they finally do, they just go crazy. And like that's what happened to me. Like I was always that guy in high school who was like super friend zoned, never was like a serious dating option to any girl. So once I finally understood, you know, masculine, feminine energies, I understood how to date and talk to women, it was like, oh shit, the whole new world was like opened up to me. And what happens, like you kind of abuse that in the beginning because you don't know what to do with it. And I always say the same
Mm-hmm.
thing. Like, I think that a man should not be judged when he has nothing. He should be judged when he has everything. When he has overabundance, then what does he do? Does he abuse that power or
Mm-hmm.
does he know how to be responsible? And I think that's where it comes into that maturity of like, once you
Yep.
get that abundance, once you get that success with women, where does it go from there? Do you like do you
Right.
want to just be more selective with the women you go out with? Do you have more standards
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to women you go out with that you
Yep.
date. I think at that point you have to level up just even the mindset around it.
Right.
Because even then, some guys maybe they get to that point and they stay in that hoe phase or that playboy phase and they never get out of it.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of
No,
nuance to that
no,
stuff.
dude. You know what the crazy part is? Like, I mean, the thing that comes to me every time I think about that stuff, dude, is like, I don't think that in that story, that probably sounds egotistical.
Mm,
Dude, I was in so much pain
sure.
emotionally.
Yeah.
Like, I was not in a good spot. Like, nobody ever talks about that. Nobody ever's like, yeah, I might have been,
Never.
really kind of messing around here, but I
Mhm.
wasn't in a good place at all. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm starting to get there. Like, but it's been a process, man. Like, uh, for me to even be that confident to put myself out there was massive for me. Like,
Yep.
massive, dude. Like, it was a running joke in college. Like, I come across as confident by the way I communicate. I only really started to realize this recently. One of my friends is like, look, you have a
Mm.
huge personality. Like, you come across as powerful, as strong, as confident. And I'm
Mm.
inside like, I'm like maybe one of
Like
those
what?
things. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, yeah, exactly. It's like I do. Like, I didn't realize that. Like, I mean, I realized it more and more with time, I start to,
Mm.
embody that and start to step into that. But at the time, dude, like the running
Yeah.
joke in college was that I would, the amount of bags I fumbled in college is a running joke.
Yeah.
It really is a running joke. Like, we're
Yep.
talking like two hands of like amount of times where it's like what's funny? I was thinking about this on my walk earlier. How I was going to talk about this. It's like, I don't know if you've ever seen Jim Gaffigan, but he talks about in one
Hmm.
of his comedy specials where he's like, nobody ever goes to McDonald's like, oh, what's this, a library? That's what I was like whenever a woman would actually like hit on me at all. I'd be like,
Yeah.
I would see it in everybody else, but I'd be like, oh, I just wouldn't even see it. And all my
Hmm.
friends were like,
Yep. It's right in
and
front
I
of you.
was just like, I don't see it. Like, you know
Hmm.
what I mean? I just, because I was so not confident, I didn't know what the hell I was doing.
Yeah.
And I just wasn't in a good spot, dude. Like, the amount of work I had to do on myself to get to a spot where I'm comfortable talking about this stuff, about like the amount of work I had to put into my body. Dude, I like
Hmm.
starting a fitness Instagram is not easy.
Nope.
I put myself out there for judgment every day. Like, my
Hmm.
shirt's off all the time. Like, I'm putting my body's out there just for public consumption. I became like you basically become an object.
You
Like,
kind of
you
do.
were like, hey, this is me. Like, this is my
Hmm.
body. It's like you're almost like you're not naked, but emotionally, a lot of the time you are. You're
Yeah.
just like, this is me. This is who I am. Like, I'm in a very compromised and vulnerable position, but I'm doing this to ideally help people. And you also see
Hmm.
people in the space, which was me at the beginning, who did it more again as an ego trip. I think this stuff
Hmm.
evolves, right? Where it's like,
Yeah, it
this is
does.
like, oh, I'm real strong. It's like, okay, cool, but are you helping
Yep.
anybody? Like,
Hmm.
nothing wrong with posting, a good picture and everything, but like,
Hmm.
what are you doing this for you, or are you doing this for other people? Do you want to monetize it, or do you just want to be like, I'm cute? You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, and there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with either one of them, but it's like
Right.
one of them, I wanted to help people, and I didn't realize for a while my content was just like, oh yeah, here's me doing lat pull downs. It's like,
Hmm.
and like you
Hmm.
didn't tell anybody how you do them. Like, you
Yeah.
didn't talk about some cues about them. You didn't talk about why you do them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, no, I definitely resonate with that because I think at one point when I started my channel and started making content for my stuff, I was definitely doing it from an ego place of like, look at me, like I'm a confident
Yeah.
dude too, or like I know about attraction, I know about this. Like I wasn't
Yeah.
speaking from uh well, some of it I was speaking from experience, but a lot of it I was just regurgitating what I heard from other creators and other people
Right.
that I followed. I'm like, yeah, see, like I'm smart too. I understand this stuff. Like I'm
Hmm.
an alpha male, whatever. Like I always would do that subconsciously.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, my old videos are still up there. So if you want to see them, like you guys can check them out. It's totally different. I think in terms of like the way I talk, like my concepts and everything. So I think it is a natural evolution that really everybody I think has to go through, whether you're a content creator or not. I think once you start to get some skill in whatever it is you're trying to build, there does come a point where that
Mhm.
ego might take over. You're like, oh yeah, man, look at me. I'm doing great. Like I'm killing it. But then
Yeah.
there comes a point I think where, people call it your come to Jesus moment, but like you get humbled a little bit. You're like, all right,
Yep.
calm down. Because then you realize okay, I think I'm doing a lot. There's people with hundreds and thousands of subscribers, hundreds and thousands of clients, all this money, all this status. I'm like, damn, I thought I was doing a lot. Look at these guys. It's like not even
Mhm.
close. So yeah, there's definitely a
Mhm.
moment where everybody kind of has to check themselves and be like, all right, maybe I need to just keep my mouth shut and just keep working.
Yeah, dude. No, comparison is the thief of joy, man. It's like,
Yep.
yeah, I mean, I do it all the time. Like you go to the gym, you're like, oh damn, like I look pretty good right now. But then you see the dude next to you, maybe doing more weight, may have
Hmm.
cooler clothes on, maybe a little bit more muscular. It's like, oh damn, like
Yep.
I'm not, I'm not good enough. It's like, I mean, and it's inherently human to do that,
Yeah,
unfortunately. And
it is.
people who say they don't do that, I don't believe.
Exactly.
Because I mean, you
Exactly.
can. I'm at the point where I try to catch myself doing it and try to stop. But the fact that like you would somehow believe that you're above that, it's like you're not above basic human emotions. Nobody is.
No.
You're not above jealousy. You're not above greed. You're not above sadness. You're not above anger. None of
Hmm.
it, right? You're a human. You're going to feel those things. It's how you deal with them that's going to differentiate, you as a person and your outcome.
Yep.
But it, all that stuff is just something that has been getting me a lot recently that I've noticed is a lot of people, whether it's in this space or just in general, I think one of the things we're told is knowledge is power. I disagree.
Yeah, for
The
sure.
application of knowledge is power, right?
Facts.
You can
Facts.
know everything in the world, but like you said, like that was you back in the day watching all these YouTube videos, learning all this thing, right? You were
Hmm.
knowledgeable, but what was the ROI on that?
Yep. Nothing. Literally.
Zero. So it's nothing, right? Yeah, you may have learned something, which is great. And you should always be trying to learn things, regardless of towards whatever your passion is, your day job, whatever. You should always
Hmm.
be trying to deepen your understanding. But if you're not applying that,
Yeah.
then then you're not doing anything, right? I mean, it's like at my day job, we talk to people about certain, things about their life. I can't get into too much detail about it, but like,
Hmm.
and a lot of people are very knowledgeable at my job, but it's like, hey, you're explaining this as though this person is a Harvard educated lawyer. You need to be able to explain this to a kindergartner.
That's true.
Like these are complicated topics. Like you need to be able to break this down because like the normal person, if they were hearing the financial, jargon you were using right now, would shut down immediately. There's a reason they're not or they want to be. It's because they don't understand that stuff. Right? It's
Yeah.
because it's way over their head and they don't want to be talked down to. Nobody does.
Hmm.
So you need to be able to explain this stuff to people who you almost need to understand they don't know what you're talking about. It's
Yeah.
like a lot of people, you can't assume they do. That's another mistake that you see a lot of the time. And like people are like, yeah, I want to work out like C-Bum. I want to look like, Mike O'Hearn or Jay Cutler. It's like what
Hmm.
you see them doing and they try to emulate in the gym. Like a lot of people get it so wrong is because they like what they're doing. They've done this for so long that their movement patterns, regardless of what they're doing, most of the time, they're on muscle. Like they may not be
Oh
doing
yeah.
bicep curls, tricep extensions, bench, whatever, the same way you would do them. And you're like, oh man, he's not getting his full range of motion. He's swinging a little bit. He's not doing it right. There
Hmm.
is no right way.
That's true.
And the quicker you realize that, like, there is no right way. There's no right way to eat. There's no right
Hmm.
way to train. There's not a right way. Are there non-optimal ways? You bet your ass.
Yeah.
And if you look around the gym, you see about 95 to 100% of people doing non-optimal stuff
Hmm.
all the time. And we won't even get into all that. That's a whole separate podcast.
Yeah.
But it's just like, yeah, it's just the mindset behind that is
Hmm.
just it's dangerous because it's like you start
Hmm.
to compare yourself to these people and not realize like, oh, that's how they do it. So that's how I do it. It's like you don't understand the things that are going through in their mind. Like in a single lift on a bicep curl, for instance, and then we won't do anything more about this. It's like, okay, where's my hand placement, right? Where's the weight on my palms? Where are my arms? Where are my elbows? Are my shoulders back? So I'm not lifting with my shoulder and my forearm and where's my head positioning? Where's the tension? Where are my feet? These are all things that they know inherently. And when you're
Hmm.
getting started, you may be doing maybe three of those things, but like all of them are important to do them optimally. And
Right.
just because you see someone else doing something, right? Nobody's doing things necessarily wrong. It's just
Hmm.
like the way I describe it is if you had a squirt bottle, right, like a water bottle, and you were trying to squirt it in your mouth. A lot of the time, what people do in the gym or with their nutrition is they're going from out here, like they're like
Hmm.
trying to squirt it from out here. Maybe you'll get some of it in your mouth, but not all of it. right?
Hmm.
If you're trying to be optimal, you want to move that bottle closer and closer. You want to be in, so the majority of it gets in your mouth, ideally all of it,
Yeah.
right? And that's what you see a lot of the time, is just people doing things that like they think are right, or they just hear things that, even in dating coaches, man, like you hear
Yeah.
things from dating coaches you just accept, right? It's just
Mhm.
like, this is the truth because this guy said so. It's like, okay,
Right.
who told him that? Has he actually tried that, or did he also hear that from somebody else who has no idea what they're talking about?
Yep.
Right? It's just like, it's like we listen to things because we perceive people to be better than us at something and just
Hmm.
accept it without question.
For sure.
Where it's like, yeah, it's like, oh yeah, you got to bench to grow your chest. No, you don't.
Hmm.
You could do push-ups and grow your chest. You don't need a bench.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, you gotta do barbell squats to grow your legs. No, you don't. No, you don't. Can
Hmm.
you? Yeah, absolutely. You probably should. But some variation of it. But
Hmm.
these absolutes
Yep.
uh, across the board. And again, it's just like, it's like I said, it's just not questioning what you're told, because you just believe, you almost view yourself as under somebody who tells you these things because they're somewhere where you want to be. So
Hmm.
because of that, you're just like, you just accept it and don't question it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it takes a certain level of self-awareness to understand, like, not everything they're saying is going to apply to you, and not everything that you hear online, not everything you learn is going to be 100% applicable to your situation, which is why,
Right.
like we've been saying, like, you just got to take the action. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't
Yeah.
work. Then you adjust and you move on. And like I say this a lot in my videos too, like, you don't know what you know until you actually do it. And like, you're not going to know the right way until you actually go down
Hmm.
that road of figuring it out. Like, I
Hmm.
don't think anybody really understood like iPhones or like airplanes until they started doing them in the beginning, and people are like, oh shit, this is how it works. Or like you kind of find out like different things about
Yeah.
it once it's already here. So the same kind of thing, like, you know, the application thing is true, because a lot of people ride off of theory and they don't have any kind of experience with it. They just hear it and they assume that that's true, but do they
Hmm.
test it? Do they actually go about doing it in their life? Do they have feedback? Do they have actually anything to suggest that that is really true? So
Hmm.
like, same thing happens with guys in this community. Like, and it's like kind of a double-edged sword, because like, I love giving people information. I love people
Right.
educating people and teaching and sharing knowledge through these videos. But at the same time, if that's all you're doing is just consuming videos and watching people talk about stuff, you're not actually making that much progress, if any progress. Like, people
No.
think that, oh man, I'm watching these different YouTubers, self-improvement YouTubers, like I'm really feeling like I'm on my purpose, I'm doing my thing. Bro, you're not on your purpose, bro.
You
Like,
didn't do
hate to break
anything.
it to you. Yeah, you didn't do anything. You spent maybe an
Yeah.
hour at your on your couch watching something on a screen. That's not doing anything. And like,
No.
it's good, like you said, it's good to learn. It's amazing that you should be learning all the time. But
Hmm.
until you actually put yourself in the field and battle test it yourself, you're not gonna make any progress.
Right. I mean, watching a video it's not action,
No,
right? It's almost it's like it's stalling, right? And that's why
it
I'll
is.
get into this briefly, just because it's something that I went through recently. Just that I had a like almost an identity crisis probably about 4 months ago, because I
Mm,
realized the way, as someone who's into fitness very much so and is a fitness coach,
yeah.
I realized that I was lifting like an idiot, for lack of a better term, for a long time, because I never questioned the damn thing I was told. I was just
Mm,
like, I just did it certain ways. I wasn't worried about getting injured. I was told,
yeah.
this is the classic stuff. You got to lift heavy, man.
Mm,
It was like that was told by somebody who also had no idea what the hell they were talking about. Like, I want to
yep.
see the research that backs that. Please
Mm,
show it to me. Like, and don't
yep.
take that out of context, right? Do you eventually need to lift heavier weights and progressive overload? Yes. But
Yeah.
progressive overload can also mean more sets and more reps. It doesn't necessarily mean more weight.
Sure.
And it assumes your form is good.
Mm,
So if your form
yep.
is terrible, then then you're not progressive overloading, you're progressive cheating. But
Mm,
it becomes something where a lot of these things, I realized I had to do a lot of research on my own, and a lot of just learning how to actually lift properly. And that was so difficult for me,
yeah.
because it's something where I'm sure you've probably gone through something similar, where something that's so intertwined with your identity, you thought you knew how to do something and you found out very quickly that you didn't. That's a
Hmm.
scary feeling. And
For
it puts
sure.
you in a very vulnerable position, specifically as somebody who's trying to help other people do the same thing.
Yep.
Right. Where it's like, if you realize that you yourself aren't there, like
Mm,
your business is a reflection of you. Your
yeah.
body is a reflection of you. Your bank account is a reflection of you. So if you're
Mm,
not dialed in, you can't be dialed in 100% of the time. But if at least if you're not in a direction where you're comfortable and like actually aligned with it, like the results are going to be what the results are.
mm,
Those are results that your current self earns in those areas because of those things. And that's how this whole Stop the Rain thing, that's where it really came about, is me in this struggle mentally within myself, questioning a lot of things that needed to be questioned, honestly, because I just had to suppress them for so long. And it just led me down the path to where I am now, of actually starting to feel like I have direction. I'm aligned with what I'm doing. And
mm,
I actually started to take the actions that I've been delaying for years.
mm. Damn. I could definitely resonate with that because I mean, I think that's what gets guys confused a lot is having to confront themselves and some of their shortcomings or limitations. Like it's everything we're talking about is like super full circle because we're talking about like
Yeah.
facing these demons, facing these things, and not being afraid to face them too. Because I think that's where the distractions come in, you know, the video
Yeah.
games, the binge eating, whatever it is. It's just delaying that inevitable confrontation with yourself. And everybody's afraid to face what it is that they have to face. And it's not always
Right.
comfortable. It's
No.
not it's not sexy.
No.
It's not something that you want to do, but it's something that you need to
Yeah.
do. Because if you're realizing, yo, maybe my mindset is fucked up,
Mm-hmm.
maybe my approach is messed up, maybe my routines, my habits are out of whack. Like you're not gonna know that
Right.
until you build up enough self-awareness um to even realize that that's the problem.
Yeah, dude. One of my favorite sayings around that is that the difference between successful people and, I don't want to say failures, but people who aren't
Mhm.
successful, is that successful people acknowledge fear.
Yeah,
Like
true.
it'd be ignorant to say that they like, fear is like the worst yet the best emotion, because fear is a subconscious manifestation of your comfort zone.
Yeah,
Like there's primal fears, and then there's fears that 85% of the time you're worried about something that's never going to happen.
it's true.
Like it's just like, it's just complete and total, like, you know what I mean? It's like catastrophizing something I've done, like where it's like, I've had stomach issues for most of my life. I have IBS, unfortunately. So it's more of
Yeah,
something, well, I mean, I've gotten a lot better with it when I got older,
yeah.
but your IBS, it's not the symptoms that suck, it's the anxiety around it that sucks. So it's
Right.
like every time your stomach growls, you're like, oh God, am I gonna, embarrass myself in public right now?
Hmm.
No, that
Hmm.
happens like zero times, but
Right.
you're so always so, concerned about it. And the people who are successful acknowledge fear and
Hmm.
do it anyway.
It's
Right?
facts.
It's not the absence of fear, because if there isn't fear, that means you're
Yep.
comfortable. Fear needs to be
True.
present. But it's just more of, are you actually somebody who is mentally tough enough to actually push forward?
Hmm.
And generally, fear is elicits emotion, right? And that
Yeah.
emotion could be negative. So a lot of people aren't willing to open themselves up to negative emotions, like feeling like a failure, like, not getting what they want, like, that's why people usually set goals for themselves that are so surface level, so vague, because
Mm.
vague goals equals zero action.
Yeah.
Right? It's like I want to be successful. It's like,
What else? What does that mean?
how?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like saying I want to wake up in the morning. All right, great.
Yeah.
How, what time, then do what? You know what I mean? Like there's
Yep.
got to be, it's basically giving yourself, like, I'm going to do this thing, right? It's like, yeah, but you're not, goals. There's a reason goals need to be specific. It's because if
Hmm.
you make your brain doesn't understand vague. Your
No.
brain doesn't understand sarcasm. Your brain doesn't, like, your brain understands absolutes. And what you
Mm.
tell it is going to eventually, your brain is, I mean, the way that I've learned it is a computer,
Yeah.
and you have to program it. You have to say,
Hmm.
like, these are the things you have to say and do every day. And then that becomes your reality. That becomes like your autopilot, right?
For
Where now
sure.
it's like, I'm waking up at the same time every day. I'm waking up, I'm taking my, my micronutrient supplement. I'm drinking my coffee. I'm reaching out to clients. Then I'm going for my walk. Then I'm training, right? I mean, it's like I'm
Yep.
starting to, you get that routine down.
Right.
Um, yeah, But yeah, like I said, it's more like if you're afraid, that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a bad thing because you actually, if you're not afraid, that generally means that whatever it is doesn't scare you, which means you're comfortable, which means it's probably not going to lead to anywhere actually meaningful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. If your goals don't scare you, they're probably not big enough. And like that's
Yeah.
another saying out there, but it's just super true. Like fear,
Mhm.
I think people look at the term fearlessness and they confuse that with actually being like courageous and brave. Like bravery isn't being completely lacking of fear. It's being fearful and like moving forward anyway. It's knowing
Yes.
this is scary, I'm uncomfortable, but I'm still gonna
Mhm.
do it because I know that on the other side is what I actually want. So that's to
Right.
me that's real courage. That's real bravery. Um
Mhm.
and you said something there that I wanted to highlight. Now I'm kind of blanking on what you said. Um what were we just talking about? Bravery.
We're talking about fear having to be present. We were talking about to actually get you to where you want to be, fear being a manifestation of discomfort.
Right.
We're talking about all that stuff.
Yeah, I think it was when we were talking about goals, about being specific. Like guys
Oh,
just
being specific, yeah.
being specific because guys literally I've known guys that have that they've had conversation with me in person where like yeah I just want to be successful, I want to make a lot of money, I want to do this. Say
Hmm.
okay, like how do you want to do that, like what is the
Yeah,
actual plan to achieve
right.
that, because they're just like oh
Hmm.
yeah I just want to be jacked, I want to be in good shape, I want to be this. All
Yeah.
right, well what is that, like what does that
Yeah.
mean?
Is it only me, or does sometimes when people say stuff like that, does it actually kind of anger you a bit?
Oh it literally is the most
It
frustrating
may
thing.
maybe not anger, maybe frustration is a better thing because it's
Yeah.
like you see kind of the pitfalls that they're
Yep.
kind of in right now mentally, and it's like, man, I really
Yep.
wish that you'd be. And a lot of times, it's not that they wouldn't be receptive, but you also can't go around and just telling people stuff all the time. You know what I mean? You can't
Yeah,
just be like, "This is how," because a lot of people either don't want to hear it, or aren't ready to hear it. Like it
that's
takes
true.
to want to change, you need to be willing to actually listen a lot of the time,
That's true.
and a lot of people aren't.
Mm,
So it's it's a tough conversation to have and a tough feeling.
mm,
Just to listen to people say stuff like that, like, man, I want to be so jacked. It's like that's what I was saying earlier. It's like, man, if you understood the work every day it takes to look like, and I don't consider myself, I consider myself for me to have an impressive physique. But
mm,
again, that comparison being the thief of joy, comparative to like the realm that I'm in,
yeah.
not like it's not the most impressive physique in the world, but my goal isn't to
Mm,
step on stage. I just wanted to build an aesthetic
yeah.
physique. I like lifting and I wanted to feel better about myself. You know what I
Mm,
mean? I wanted to, that is one of the mediums through which I build confidence, I relieve stress,
yep.
and it's creative outlet for me. And it's a ton
Mm,
of fun. It's something that
right.
I look forward to every day.
Mm,
The people who are like, I want to be jacked. It's like, okay, so you wake up in the morning. Okay. From the first second you wake up in the morning, you know you have to work out that day. So what every action you take is dictated around that. When you
mm,
wake up, what you eat, what you drink, what you think, what you sleep, what you watch, everything is about that thing. Because if
yeah.
you wake up and have, I don't know, a massive, heavy 2,000 calorie breakfast, then rock up to the gym, you're going to have a horrible workout. You're going to feel like
Terrible.
garbage. And yeah, it's like everything. It's all like, that's what I guess I realized. It's only recently I'm embarrassed how long it took me to figure this out. It's mindset. It's all
Mm,
mindset.
it is.
Every single thing is mindset. So like, you about fitness, about all these things, like when you wake up in the morning, you need to have like it's mental strength to be like, okay,
Yeah.
I could wake up and I could do nothing, or I'm going to do these things to actually put myself on a track to, when I do these things, to actually
Mm,
put myself in a position to succeed and be the person I want to be. Because if
mm,
you wake up, and it's so easy to go wake up in the morning, go get a sausage, egg, and cheese, and just chill out, have a soda, watch a show, man. Like
mm,
you got work in like 2 hours. You were going to train, but you're a little bit uncomfortable. I had a big breakfast. Maybe your muscles need to breathe a little. You don't need to train today, right?
yep.
And then you don't do it, and that it's just it's tough, man. It's tough to see people go through that.
Mm, yeah, it leads down a negative cycle. And I think
Yeah.
as long as you kind of know like I'm a big proponent of just calling yourself out. Like when you know that you're slacking, like when you know that you're not quite where you want to be, just being
Mhm.
accountable and being like, yeah, I'm kind of like slacking right now.
Right.
Or I'm not doing ideally what it is that I want to do. Um, I'm all about that. I think that accountability is huge. That ownership piece of it is pretty much like 90% of it. And then like 10, and then like obviously the mindset of the we were just talking about is another
Yep.
proponent. Like that's like maybe 50% of it as well. And I know those numbers don't make any fucking sense, 90 and 50, but you get what I'm saying. You get what I'm saying.
Yeah,
It's
I guess
super important. Um,
it's super
but
important.
yeah, man, I think that was an awesome way to kind of segue to kind of round out the podcast. I think we've been doing this for about like probably an hour and a half now. Kind of
Jeez.
it's been rolling.
Yeah, just been rolling with the punches, man. So I'll leave you with this. I want to make sure I describe this really quickly before I head it off. What I mean when I say stop the rain, okay? And this is something that can be applicable. This isn't a plug for me. This is just what I realized. Stop the rain. That's a quote from DMX. I don't know if you know who DMX is.
Yeah.
Recently passed rapper, one of the most fascinating individuals I've ever seen in my life. He's just, he probably preschoolers have been to more school than DMX had been to in his life, but he
Yeah.
still says some of the most applicable and fascinating things I've ever heard. In one of his songs, he talks about only he can stop the rain. The rain is a manifestation of evil in your life.
Mm.
That's what rain means when he says it. In his life, that was drug addiction. It was just constantly crime. It was his own demons he was fighting on a daily basis that just kept him, in this spot where he couldn't escape it. I mean, there's a lot of different songs about this. His songs are stories of his life where
Yeah.
he talks about that all the time. Everybody's reign's different. And every day, it's like you said about like we were talking about the understanding there's fear and there's negative things in your life. It's acknowledging that and every day taking the actions to stop your reign. Whether your reign
Mhm.
is, I don't want to go to the gym, I'm too scared, I don't want to take action towards my goals because it's going to be too hard, I don't want to do this thing, whatever it may be. It's something, taking action every day towards what you don't want to do, whatever your reign is, working every day to stop it through the actions that you take. So when I say stop the rain, that's what I mean. So when I go to the gym, when I post on my story, every time, and I'll post a picture of myself, I'll put the two emojis of it, the stop emoji and the rain cloud emoji. Every time I go to the gym, I'm stopping the rain. Every time I, do these things to get me closer to the person I want to be, I'm stopping the rain. So my
Mm.
question, like, for anybody who listens to this podcast, is what's your rain? And how are you
Mm.
going to work every day to stop it?
Wow. I love that. I think that's a great way to kind of end it there. That's really nice. What's your rain? Yeah, I'm gonna write that down, dude, because that's a badass quote. Stop the rain. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. So yeah, where can people find you, Quinn, if they want to look more about your fitness page, Instagram, YouTube,
Mhm.
whatever you got going on? Where's some easy places to find you?
Yeah, man. So for now, I'm on Instagram at stoptherain.fit. I really started to steer into that because that really just became, I've
Hmm.
started to embody that, just become a lot more of who I am. I
Hmm.
am the CEO and founder of the No Cap Fitness Transformation Mentorship Program. So you can follow at No Cap Fit Official on Instagram as well. That would be the business page on there that we're starting to post on a little bit more frequently. But I just want to take the time for thank you to have me on. It's been a blast catching up, talking about some stuff that I know we're both very passionate about. And yeah, it's pretty much all I got for right now.
100%, man. Yeah, and I appreciate you coming on, man. It was an awesome talk. I think we had some
Absolutely.
really great nuggets in there. You might have to go back and watch this a couple times because there's a ton of stuff that we covered. And I say this in
Yeah.
every podcast, like go back and watch it a few times because there's going to be stuff that you missed the first go around. So a lot of great information in there. And if you guys want to see his links, I'll leave it all in the comments section just to make it easier. Um, if you guys want to check out what he's got going on. Obviously, you know where my stuff is in the description. Like the video, subscribe, all that YouTube stuff. I have coaching down below as well if you want to work with me personally. All those links are down below. So that's it, guys. We're gonna get going because we got some stuff to do, and we will see you in the next podcast. Hopefully, you'll bring Quinn on in the future, maybe to do another one. Who knows?
Love to be back if you'd have me back.
100%. Yeah, man, I'm down. All
All
right,
right, brother.
guys. We'll catch y'all later. Peace.